What is a tax deed auction? Well, welcome back. Now, in this episode, I'm going to answer your question, what is a tax deed auction? Now, my name is Ted Thomas, and since 1970, I've been involved in real estate. But over the past 30 years, I've been specialized in tax liens and tax deeds. Why did I do that? Nice, stable market, plenty of profit, and not a lot of competition. No recession in this market. Now, this is a little known but highly lucrative business. Now, you can do big deals or you can do little deals. So I'm going to definitely give you some secrets on how to do those in this particular video. But at the very end of the video, I'm going to tell you about 2 mistakes that auction buyers continuously make at the auction. So I want you to be able to avoid those mistakes. I don't want you to get involved in that. So stay till the end and watch, and you'll see what those 2 mistakes happen to be. I don't want it to happen to you. I'll be right back. On this episode, I'm going to share with you some inside tips that only the professionals use. Now, a lot of big mistakes that happen at these auctions, and I'll cover those later. But right now, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty where you can make some real money for yourself. Now, there's over 5,000 tax auctions every year. Now, these are defaulted property auctions. They're usually done annually, although some states, places like Georgia and Texas, they do them every month. Now, if you live in a county with a large population, you can expect hundreds of properties at these tax defaulted auctions. If you live in a rural county with a small population, expect a few dozen, could be up to 50 or 75. But there's going to be those auctions regularly done, at least annually. Every county in the United States is authorized to do that. Now, the county treasurer is responsible for a lot of things. And one of the things the county treasurer has to do is try to get the revenue into the county to pay all the bills. So the county treasurer is authorized to levy the taxes, to collect the taxes, and if they can't collect the taxes, well, that's when you're going to hear about the tax deed auction, because they're going to go out and they're going to seize, they're going to confiscate the property, then they're going to come back and put it on a list. They're going to publish that list. It's called a tax deed auction list, and it's going to be on the website, and it's also going to be on the local newspapers. Now, they're going to sell that property. They do not want the property. They're going to sell that property for somewhere very close to the amount that they seized it. In other words, the back taxes. So they're going to sell it close to back taxes, maybe plus or minus some small fees. Now, property taxes are paid by every property. Why? Because all properties by law have to contribute their fair share into paying for the county's bills. Now, churches and schools don't pay any taxes. But all of these tax auctions are going to be published in a local newspaper. Now, where will you learn the rules for the auction? You'll find those on the county website. They'll always be there. Now, why would you want to buy a property at a tax defaulted auction? Well, I'll tell you why. Number one, the discounts are going to be 60%, 70, 80. I've even seen 90% discounts at these auctions. Now, if you can buy a property at a 70 or 80% discount, and it has no mortgage, I know you're surprised, but they have no mortgage. The county has deleted the mortgage. It's wiped out. It's no longer on the records for that property. So if you can buy a property 70, 80% discount and not have a mortgage, that's your chance to start making money. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're in a deed, a trust deed, or a security deed, whatever that mortgage on that property, whatever that loan on the property is, it's wiped out. The treasurer wipes out all those mortgages and deeds of trust. They're just off the property. So these properties are sold at auction to the highest bidder. All right, now, the auctioneer in the rural counties and not the big auctions is probably going to be a county employee that just gets up from their desk, comes out there and auctions the property, okay? Some of those are online. Some of them are live and online. Some of them are just online. You'll have to just see what your county is doing on that particular auction. Now, if you're going to a big auction, like in a Dade County or a Harris County or a county that's going to have literally thousands of properties, which could be like Los Angeles, and I'll talk about that later on, but in Los Angeles, they might have 1,500 or 2,000 properties to auction. The auction goes so fast, you have to click your fingers every time an auction property is sold. Now, look, today we're talking about auction properties. You might want to see other videos that I've done on that, so go below me, and there'll be links to other videos that you can watch about tax defaulted property. Now, any comments you want to make, you can make them there. As a matter of fact, everybody that makes a comment, we send them a gift for doing that. Any questions you have, we'll definitely get them answered. All right, so what's the starting price at an auction? The starting price generally is very close to the amount they seized the property for. So it's going to be the back taxes plus some fees. Now, if an auction starts that low and you could buy property for 70, 80% discounts, you're really going to be in pretty good shape, especially even if you're surprised about it, there's no mortgage on that property. So a tax defaulted mortgage property doesn't have a mortgage. So let me say that again. It won't be so mumble jumble. When you buy a property at auction, the mortgage has basically been deleted. It's been wiped out from the property records. What a great deal that is. Now you're buying property without a mortgage. You'd love to own a property without a mortgage. All right, what are you going to do with it? You're going to sell it. Now, many of the other liens that are on the property are also wiped out. So you need to study this just a little bit, and you'll learn you're buying mortgage-free property for pennies on the dollar, 70, 80, 90% discounts. All right, so what have I been talking about today? Well, I'm answering the question, what is a tax deed auction? It's an auction that takes place where the county has seized the property, and now what they want to do is they want to return that property to the tax roll. So it's a delinquent property, so it's off the tax roll. It's not generating money for the county. The county wants regular payments from every property owner in the county. It's the law of the land, and everybody owes it except for schools and churches. And so they're trying to get that property back on the regular tax roll so they can get regular money. So they're auctioning this property as low as possible. Is this a complex auction? No. It starts at a low price. The highest bidder gets it. You receive a property with no mortgage on it. Now, can anybody go to the auction? Yes. Anybody can go. Can you buy for cash? Well, most people question cash today, but the equivalent of cash could be a cashier's check or something like that. So you might want to think about knowing all those rules of what you're going to pay before you go to the auction. So let me repeat. In a county that has a small population, they'll have dozens to hundreds of properties. In a county that has a large population, you can find hundreds to 1,000 tax defaulted properties. There's 5,000 auctions every year. They take place in 3,000 counties. I'm going to do a couple of questions before I leave today.
The question is, can you show proof that there's still properties available today?
Well, now that's a good question. Can you imagine that? Someone asking, can I show proof? Well, why don't we just do that? So I'm going to reach over here to an auction brochure, and I'll show you multiple brochures here in the next few minutes. This auction brochure is from the state of New York, and it says Franklin County. Looks like they got about 86 properties there in Franklin County, and they actually give me pictures of these properties. Now, this is just one auction of many. Now, keep in mind, a state like New York will have maybe 60 or 70 counties, okay? Let's look at another one. Now, this is Sullivan County in New York. Now, I know for a fact because I bought there myself. Okay, Sullivan County, and they have 355 properties scheduled for this auction. And this is a brochure that I just downloaded from the internet. And guess what? It shows me all these properties. I can pick any one I want. I can buy those. Starting bid's going to be the back taxes. Here, let me find one of these and see what kind of pricing they've got. All right, so this is one of many properties. Now, there's 355, and this particular one that I circled has a value of $151,000. It's a ranch-style house. It gives me it's a two-story ranch style. It was built in 1997. So we're not talking about old junkers. We're talking about properties that are just 20 or 25 years old, and now it's going for auction. What if it goes for 10 cents on the dollar and the value was $151,000? Wouldn't you like to be in on that deal? No mortgage on these properties. Let me find one more. Oh, here's Los Angeles. All right, so we talked. This is an auction brochure from Los Angeles, and I'll do it this way. Okay, each page has about 8 properties on it. So I estimate in this one here, let me look and see if they total it in the back. They didn't, but there's about 1,500 properties just at this one auction in Los Angeles. All of these properties will have a starting bid of the back taxes. So that'll give you some idea. So that's what I call a really big auction when they have 1,500 to 2,000 properties. So this works in every county in America. You just have to learn how.
And question number 2, will you go into a little more depth about your experience in LA?
The question is, will I talk a little bit about Los Angeles? Okay, I'll be happy to do that. All right. I've been to the Los Angeles auction at least 5 times in the 30 years that I've been doing this. And each time I went to that auction, it was really busy. They do have a requirement that you pay $5,000 or you can't enter the auction room. So you have to do that 3 weeks in advance. They only charge you that money to keep people from coming. because too many people come. A lot of people think auctions are just entertaining. So they go there and anyway, the auction had over 1,000 people in attendance. If I snapped my fingers like this, every time I snapped my finger, they sold a property. They had, this auction I'm showing you here has 1,500. So if they start at 9 o'clock, by the time 5 o'clock rolls around, they will have sold the majority of these properties. So people that know and understand this, understand there's a lot of bargains in this book. You don't want to go to that auction without having done your homework. If you haven't done your homework, you'll barely be entertained, but you won't know what's going on. And it happens fast. And you must follow the rules, and they'll have plenty of sheriffs in the room, and you will follow the rules, or they'll escort you out of the room. This is serious business. It's a big business. It's hugely profitable. I promise you I'd tell you about 2 mistakes. Now, the 2 mistakes are happening all the time at auction, and I see this happening with newcomers, and I also see it happening with experienced investors. So let me tell you what I see going on, and I hope you'll be able to avoid these mistakes. So number 1 is people show up at the auction, they're excited, they want to make money, so they start bidding. Well, if you haven't looked at the property, you should not start bidding. How do you know what's actually there? Is that property next to a chicken farm that might have a lot of odors? Or has that property burned down? Could there have been a hurricane this past week? I mean, who knows if you're just buying a number on a sheet of paper. So you need to look at the property. So boots on the ground, eyes on the property are very important. Now, you don't necessarily have to be there yourself, but you darn sure better have somebody check that property before you buy. So that's mistake number 1. Now, mistake number 2 is similar, and I see this happening on a regular basis, and people are showing up at the auction, they're all excited, but someone beats them out of a property because they either bid higher or whatever. Well, that's nothing to worry about. There's always plenty of auction properties. However, you don't want to just start bidding without having an exit strategy. Now, what's an exit strategy? Well, folks, you have to know what you're going to sell it for if you're going to start bidding. You don't want to start bidding so that you're the winning bidder. That isn't important. The winning bidder can just bid too much money, and that's what they do. And then you can't sell it because you're into the property at too high a price. So there's 2 exit strategies, 2 things you need to really be thinking about. 1, look at the property. 2, you have to have an exit strategy. All right, now I have a nice gift for you below. It's called a safe haven. You'll love this. It's going to teach you about tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. So there's your chance. You're going to get that absolutely free. It's my gift to you. Just register below, and I'll see you on the next video.